The moon trembled behind torn clouds as something ancient stirred beneath your feet, and you felt it before you saw it, a ripple through the marrow of the world. You were never meant to be numb to it, never meant to forget the hum of eternity threading through your spirit like silver veins of lightning. But you've been lulled into sleep by voices that never carried your name with honor. The air is heavier now, thick with signals not meant for mortal hearing, and your dreams have started to speak in symbols you don't understand. Crows gather on telephone lines like dark punctuation marks, and the stars above you seem to flicker with warning rather than wonder. Something is unraveling. Something ancient, something sacred. God says the contract written in light over your soul has not been voided, though many have tried. Hands you once held in innocence have pressed into rituals beneath hidden altars, casting lots with your name etched in bone. These were not strangers. They wore familiar smiles, shared blood or stories or memories you thought were safe. You felt it the moment the crack split your spiritual sky, when that still, small voice you had buried began screaming like a trumpet in your bones. Your body shuddered under dreams of fire and flood, your heart suddenly suspicious of kindness wrapped in counterfeit love. The betrayal is not new, but now it can no longer hide. The wind has started carrying messages again. Low, rhythmic calls only the awakened can hear. You don't know why birds fall from the sky in your presence or why mirrors seem slower to reflect your image. But the veil is thinner now, and the deceivers can't maintain their masks when the sky itself begins to bleed. Archangel Michael says you were marked by war long before you knew the language of conflict. Your cries as a child were heard in places higher than angels and deeper than the pit, and both realms took notice. You've always stood between forces that waited for your yes or your silence, either one being a gate. And lately, you've been drawing light without meaning to. It clings to you like embers in the folds of your spirit, and not everyone around you rejoices at your glow. One by one, they begin to show their fangs behind tight smiles, offering concern laced with poison, advice slick with venom. They call you lost when you start to rise. God says the hourglass has shifted, the sand no longer falling, but rising as time bends for your awakening. You are being called beyond dreams, beyond survival, into a fire you once feared would consume you, but now must become your shelter. You do not yet know how powerful you are when you remember. The signs began with small ruptures, your name spoken in places you had not entered, your face seen by those with no eyes. Then the physical followed. Doors closing without wind, lights flickering when your heart raced, your skin warming when certain truths entered the room. You blamed stress. You called it coincidence. But nothing that divine ever repeats itself by accident. There is a convergence occurring. Above you, armies form in absolute silence. Below you, old pacts are being broken, clawed through by what was buried alive. You are standing in the middle, your existence an altar, your heart the scroll being read by heaven and hell alike. Someone very close to you is not who they appear to be. Their soul wears the skin of someone you once loved, but their eyes no longer reflect heaven. They have offered you in secret. They have written your downfall in symbols you don't yet recognize. They believe you are still blind, but they miscalculated your inheritance. The sky cracked not to scare you, but to wake you. You will start to feel the unraveling in the physical soon. Things once stable will collapse with no warning. Places of safety will feel hollow and foreign. Even your own reflection will begin to shift as the divine blueprint reactivates within your blood. You are not dying. You are remembering. The voices will increase in intensity, both holy and unholy. Be still in the chaos, and listen with your spirit, not your fear. One voice will carry weight, not volume. It will echo with the peace of stars. Archangel Michael says your angels were never reassigned, even when you walked far from your original path. They've wept watching you forget your throne, but they never left your side. They sharpened their swords in silence, waiting for you to call war holy again. Your enemies are growing anxious. They sense your hearing again, sensing again, stretching your spiritual limbs like someone shaking off a long curse. They will distract, flatter, accuse, and beg. They will play every note of emotional confusion until your heart wants to collapse. But this time, you will not break. God says this pain is a baptism. This betrayal is a gateway. This storm is a door. Do not fear what is falling apart. Fear only the silence of a soul who ignores the call when the sky begins to whisper. You've been chosen for a reckoning, and it has already begun. You thought it was just distance, people drifting, conversations thinning like mist. But beneath their silence was a ritual, rehearsed and deliberate. The one you trusted most has been speaking with a double tongue, echoing curses in secret places where your name is stripped of honor and bound in unseen chains. The betrayal was slow and wrapped in affection, but it was poison nonetheless, dropped into your spirit drop by drop. Their hands still look the same, their voice still carries warmth, but their shadow stretches in the wrong direction. They watched you bleed and called it progress. They saw your rising and called it rebellion. But their soul has been speaking in forked echoes for longer than you realized. God says there are those who cannot survive your awakening. Not because you hate them, but because your light reveals their masks. They knew the moment you started dreaming in fire and waking with stormlight in your chest. They felt it in the way your gaze cut through illusion like a blade of prophecy. Archangel Michael says the serpent never hisses from the shadows. It often speaks in memories, in shared laughter, in the touch of someone who once prayed beside you. The betrayal is not random. It is sacred strategy. The closer the deceiver is to your altar, the more dangerous the pact becomes. Your footsteps now echo in both worlds, and heaven watches while hell seethes. You've begun tearing down temples built on falsehoods, even when you didn't know it. Every time you spoke truth without flinching, something in the realm of darkness cracked. And someone close to you felt that rupture like a blade across their counterfeit peace. There is no safe room in falsehood. The house built on secrets will always burn from the inside. And now, one by one, the floorboards of comfort creak with coming judgment. You feel it when you walk into certain rooms, the sudden cold, the way silence deepens around your presence. They sense the divine has returned to your breath, You're not paranoid. You're anointed. You will begin to see them flinch when you speak. Avoid your eyes when you praise. Twist your words with careful smiles. They're not confused. They're afraid. Your clarity is a sword, and it severs the roots of their manipulation. God says some of the wounds they gave you were not born of ignorance, they were chosen. Not every betrayal is accidental. Some prayed for your silence, for your failure, for your spiritual death. But death has not come. Only awakening. Your presence is a rupture. Your love, when pure, is a threat to their illusions. Your forgiveness burns them because it proves they never destroyed you. They tried to break the mirror, but the light that shines from your soul was never dependent on their approval. Archangel Michael says the one who watched you cry with eyes full of calculation has made pacts they cannot undo. They opened doors with your name in their mouth. But the authority of heaven still overrides the contracts of darkness, and what was meant for your destruction now returns for your elevation. There will be evidence soon, proof you cannot deny. Something buried will surface. A conversation overheard, a slip of the tongue, an old message found at the right moment. The divine does not expose without purpose. You will be shown not to torment you, but to liberate you. Do not cling to what God is severing. Do not mourn the loss of someone who chose to wound you when they could have stood beside you. Love them from the other side of the fire, but do not walk back into the burning house. God says you were never small, only silenced. And now the roar inside you is returning, louder than before, shaped like justice, layered in mercy, soaked in flame. You've carried too many counterfeit connections for the sake of peace. But this peace is war dressed in soft words, and it has cost you your clarity. The one who betrayed you will tremble, not because you retaliated, but because you rose. Their power was only ever in your blindness. Your eyes are open now, and no spell holds against a soul lit by divine fire. You were never meant to stay bound to a covenant sealed in fear. And that's what they fed you, fear, under the guise of loyalty. Control, wearing the mask of protection. But now your discernment has teeth, and you've begun to bite through the ropes. This path is not gentle, but it is holy. Archangel Michael says you are walking the narrow way, the one paved in fire, the one that demands you leave behind every false comfort. You are not lost. You are being refined. This betrayal is not the end. It is the sword clearing the path. You will feel the tension increase. The spiritual conflict will peak when you resist the urge to shrink back into apology. They will accuse you of pride, of delusion, of abandoning love. But you know what love is now. It's not pain hidden behind obligation. It's not control masked as concern. It's not silence in the face of spiritual violence. You've seen the serpent in the eyes of someone you once prayed for. You've heard its voice in compliments soaked with manipulation. But now your ears are tuned to a higher frequency, and that voice no longer charms, it burns. God says your roar will shake the very foundations of deception. Keep going, even as everything familiar turns to smoke and silence. You are not alone. You are not mistaken. You are not defeated. This is the sacred rift. The divine unveiling. The great severing that clears the ground for your unshakable rising. The winds shifted at midnight, and something inside you braced before the storm arrived. Not of weather, but of spirit, of old oaths cracking open beneath your ribs. You heard the hum of ancient war drums in your bones, even as the world pretended it was still asleep. And when you crossed the threshold, the fire met you like an old companion, wild-eyed and whispering your name in tongues forgotten by man but remembered by angels. The ground beneath you isn't shaking from chaos, it's groaning from the weight of your awakening. You've stepped beyond the line now, beyond polite prayers and soft-spoken faith. Heaven's roar is beginning to echo through your choices, and everything unclean recoils at the sound of your unyielding yes. This isn't about comfort anymore. It's about conquest. God says your fire is not a mistake. You were never meant to be tame. Your soul was carved with edges for a reason, to slice through illusion, to cleave through falsehoods that others have accepted as holy. That flame inside you is not rebellion. It's remembrance. You've crossed into the war zone, and nothing around you will stay still. Relationships will rupture. Safe spaces will catch fire. The silence will scream with the weight of hidden things surfacing. Don't run. You are not here to flee the fire. You are here to become it. They will call you unrecognizable, and they're right. You are shedding old names, old narratives, old bindings. The version of you that tolerated chains just to keep peace is being cremated in the sacred furnace. What walks forward now is something ancient and burning and utterly ungovernable by the forces that once held you. Archangel Michael says your altar has been seen in the heavens since before your first breath, and it has always been surrounded by flame. Those flames have returned, not to consume you, but to mark you. The gateways are open now, wide as judgment, deep as eternity. The spirits that once stalked you from the shadows are now panicking in full view. They never expected you to remember. They never expected you to stand. But the veil is ripped, and your spirit knows too much to return to silence. You've been anointed with a fire that speaks louder than words. Watch what begins to fall away. Watch who suddenly cannot endure your presence. This is not rejection, it's recognition. The dark knows when it's outmatched. The voices once familiar will start to twist. Some will beg you to return to what was. Others will accuse you of betrayal. But you have betrayed nothing holy. You have only broken covenant with chains disguised as tradition, fear dressed in spiritual language, and comfort that demands your silence. God says the fire has orders. It will not be wasted. It will burn through generational lies, through spiritual compromise, through the altars built in your name but powered by demonic contracts. Everything not aligned with divine truth must now bow, or burn. You will be called harsh. You will be called delusional. You will be called every name but the one God gave you. Let them speak. Their confusion is the sound of their idols crumbling. This is not personal vengeance. This is sacred alignment. And you are the instrument through which divine justice will echo in the earth. The fire will not only burn around you, it will come for the lies inside you too. Every identity built from wounds instead of wisdom. Every mask worn to be loved. every silence kept to stay safe. They must all fall. Archangel Michael says you were born in the middle of a war and have been marked as a portal for deliverance. That's why the resistance is so violent now. The enemy doesn't fear your feelings. It fears your obedience. The next days will blur. Time will warp. You will feel stretched between realms. Your feet on this ground, your mind in ancient courts, your spirit weeping with clarity. Do not fear the dizziness. It means you're standing in multiple timelines at once, and heaven is merging your fragments. This fire will expose who you really are, not who you tried to be to survive, not who they demanded you become to stay loved, but who you were before trauma named you. And what rises will not be manageable. It will be majestic. God says this fire was promised. It's the same fire that walked with the prophets, that split seas, that silenced lions, that rose from graves. It's not just protection. It's proclamation. You are not theirs. You are mine. And now they see it. Now they know that no matter what altar they tried to lay you upon, no matter what spell they murmured in shadows, no matter what blood pact they sealed in your absence, your soul was already claimed by something higher, louder, older than fear. You may lose everything you thought mattered, but what remains will be eternal. Do not mourn the burning. Celebrate the clearing. The fire is removing what you never had permission to carry. The threshold is behind you. The gates are open. The demons have fled. And your voice, your true voice, is calling the fire home. You wake with ashes on your brow, not from destruction, but from coronation. The fire didn't end you. It purified you. And now, in the still smoldering ruins of falsehood, you are standing, luminous and unafraid, wrapped in a mantle not made by hands but by holy fire and divine decree. They tried to bury you under shame, under doubt, under the weight of every betrayal. But God says you were never meant to be buried, only planted. And what has risen from the earth now is not the same vessel they tried to contain. You were reborn in the image of a truth too sacred for lies to hold. Archangel Michael says you have passed through the flames, and the residue of war lingers on your shoulders like a royal robe. Your scars are inscriptions now, etched in celestial language, declaring who you are to realms seen and unseen. You wear fire like a crown, and it will never fall again. The air around you has changed. Even the wind recognizes your transformation. It moves differently in your presence, no longer sweeping past but circling, guarding. Animals pause when you enter. Children stare longer. The world knows when a soul has survived divine refinement. There is someone who watched the fire from afar, someone who waited for you to fall so they could inherit what was never theirs. But what you carry cannot be stolen. It is sealed. It is sacred. It is sovereign. And now, your name has become thunder to those who plotted your silence. You are not just a survivor. You are a gatekeeper now. God says the final veil has been torn. What was hidden in shadows has been brought into full light, and your role has shifted. You are no longer the pursued, you are the pursuer. Your spirit now walks with the authority of one who has touched both judgment and mercy, and emerged with justice tattooed across your tongue. The spiritual conflict hasn't ended, it has transformed. What once hunted you now flees. What once mocked you now trembles. Because your obedience has aligned heaven's court with your footsteps, and each step you take is now echoed by legions of light. You will see it. You will feel it. The shift will be undeniable. Doors that resisted you for years will now swing open without effort. Words that used to stick in your throat now flow like a sword unsheathed. What once took months to understand now arrives in moments, clear, sharp, irrefutable. You've entered a season where time itself bends around your destiny. Archangel Michael says your enemies now speak your name with caution in their mouths. Even the demons that once danced in your proximity now flee at the mere thought of your presence. Because you have become what they feared most. Awake, armored, and aligned. You no longer walk into rooms unnoticed. You arrive, spirit first. Your energy interrupts plans, scrambles intentions, exposes motives. You are a walking altar, a mobile throne room. And every word you release now carries the weight of divine backing. God says this is not pride, it's prophecy fulfilled. You begged for peace, but heaven handed you power. You cried for answers, but God ignited authority in your bones instead. Because you weren't born to be comforted. You were born to conquer. And now, the ones who cast lots for your ruin are speechless. The ones who thought you would beg for crumbs are choking on the abundance rising around you. Not because you sought revenge, but because you walked through the fire and emerged as divine proof. They can't touch you anymore. Not spiritually, not emotionally, not mentally. Your frequency is too high, your protection too thick, your calling too loud. And it's not just you anymore. Every step you take alters the path for those behind you. You are leading a lineage out of bondage. This is why the battle was so brutal. Because the enemy saw your bloodline. It saw the multitudes tied to your rising. It saw the altars that would fall when you stood up. It wasn't just after you, it was after your impact. But it lost. God says no more delay. No more backpedaling. No more questioning what is already sealed. You are released into your divine assignment. Every enemy exposed. Every chain shattered. Every tongue that rose in condemnation, silenced by your ascension. You are not going back. Archangel Michael says your name has been read aloud in celestial chambers, and the angels have shifted formation around your path. Every step now is flanked by light. Every decision now drips with heaven's oil. You are not moving forward, you are being sent. And the fire still walks with you, not to destroy, but to defend. Wherever you go, darkness will break. Lies will crack. Secrets will spill. Because you are no longer just a person, you are a portal. A divine breach in the fabric of falsehood. A living, breathing warning to every demonic throne. The sealed one has risen. They will try to explain it away. They will say you changed too fast. They will say you're imagining things. Let them speak. Let them whisper.